We need to be training our people while the engines are running. It's going to build muscle memory. And guess what? If you do that enough, you can start instilling a sense of calm in the middle of the chaos.
Welcome to the Team Amplifier Podcast. I'm your host, Byron Summerdahl. Here you'll be inspired by industry leaders who build flourishing tech teams. Stay tuned and prepare to be amplified.
3, 2, 1.
Hey everybody, we're here with Glen Antoine. Glen's a software developer and architect who got sucked into leadership like a lot of us. Now a successful fractional CTO and CISO, former Navy aircrew and passionate aviator who I think is going to be able to give me a lift from Honduras back to the States at some point. We're going to work on that. All right, Glen.
Sign me up.
Tell me more about that or what you're doing these days. You got a very varied background. Tell me about that and what you got going on these days.
Byron, first off, thanks for inviting me to join you. You're right. I tell people daily that I'd fly every day if I could. Now, within all practical limits, that's not a good thing. There's a common saying that, I'd rather be on the ground wishing I were flying than in the air wishing I were on the ground. After some of my flights that I've had over the years, both in the Navy and as a personal pilot, it rings true.
Mm-hmm. That, and it's probably kind of expensive. If you could, you would just be in the air all the time, but then you wouldn't be able to pay for anything else.
Yeah. No, absolutely. It's not a cheap passion. And the thing is, the lessons I learned as a result of that training and being in the cockpit go throughout my professional career in technology and various teams. It's amazing the correlations you start to see.
Exactly. That's actually one of the reasons why I was excited about having you on the show, is because you have those two very different sides of you, and they don't collide because that would be a bad thing, but they really integrate well. And I love how you allow things from your time in the Navy and your time in aviation to inform how you lead. There's a lot there.
I appreciate that.
So tell me about a book that you've been reading lately that has made an impact on you.
Have you by chance read 10X is easier than 2X?
No, I haven't. I'm going to get on Amazon right now and buy that.
Dan Sullivan, phenomenal coach. He and Dr. Hardy, I think this is a second or third version. And it kind of flips conventional thinking on its head, because the whole premise is that accomplishing a 2X multiplier is a lot harder than a 10X. And I first read that and I'm like, okay, Dan's lost his mind. I can't even get my head wrapped around that. But really why it resonated with me is a big part of the premise is about going deeper on a few things, eliminating the 80-90% of the distractions that we have on a daily basis, really zeroing in. And in all reality, it simplifies things, because now you got focused effort, focused attention. And I think a lot of companies that are feeling pressure, trying to grow, trying to get out of the gate strong and stuff, they could learn something from that.
So you've been in the game long enough to have made a few mistakes. And we've talked about before, you and I, that the mistakes are often what make us who we are and make us so effective as leaders. And you can't be in the trenches without making a mistake. And you can't really be a great tech leader unless you are or have been in the trenches. So, Glen, I'd love to hear from you about an embarrassing mistake that you've made as a tech leader. It's confession time.
Yep. So we're going there right out of the gate.
Yeah. Straight for the jugular.
Absolutely. And you're right. It's those mistakes, stepping outside my comfort zone, those types of events that aren't comfortable. And frankly, if I could get the same lessons and bypass them, I would. But one of the biggest ones that came to mind immediately in Big Shocker, I was in rush mode. I should have waited till you were sitting down to tell you that, but I was in rush mode. I had a new leader that was very capable, always performed well, and I gave him way too much autonomy without the mentoring to support it. I didn't, it'd be the analogy I'd like, Big Shocker, I'll use a lot of aviation analogies here, but the best analogy would be like me coming in on final, and I've got a co-pilot that wasn't part of the preparation, and then I hand them the yoke and tell them to go ahead and land it. Probably not a good idea. Because there's so much going on. There's so much context you've got to have. And thankfully, in my case, there were no catastrophic results. It was kind of a rough landing. But it was a great reminder to me that, any experienced team or crew, you've got to have the structure and the support and those feedback loops and those, what I like to, the short check-ins to make sure you can't just throw something over the wall without context and expect someone to perform. Mm. And that's exactly what I did. It was not their fault. It was all on me.
And you mentioned rush mode. That's actually what we're talking about today. That's the whole idea behind today's episode is mentoring people through rush mode. And I can't help but think that a lot of the mistakes that I've made have been because of rush. Like I think that rush could be the source of most embarrassing mistakes.
I honestly think it is. It's so here, so many things we do in aviation, we've got checklists. As you can imagine, you're taking off, you're preparing for takeoff, or you're preparing for a landing, you're coming in, you're talking to air traffic control, you're talking to the towers, you've got all your instruments, you may be having to make adjustments to your flight path for different waypoints and stuff. They may be changing courses. They may be asking you to slow down, speed up. There's a lot going on. You got other aircraft. And in my case, I'm often flying really small aircraft as compared to the big boys. You don't want to be not paying attention and have one of those guys coming down behind you. And so we've got checklists for a reason, because that is the epitome of rush mode. I mean, you've got a lot going on and you've got this checklist. How often in the tech world are we operating without that same kind of checklist?
Most of the time, flying by the seat of the pants is something that I think we do professionally as software developers or in IT.
Yeah, absolutely. And it bit me. And it was a reminder. I apologized to him. I'm like, look, this is not on you. We got it fixed and I'll do it again. I promise you, I won't recognize it. I'll get stressed. I'll get in a hurry or whatever, and it'll happen. And then I'm going to be pissed at myself. But I try to get better with each one of those.
Well, let's talk to ourselves and to everybody else out there and try to give today people the opportunity to get past this kind of rush mode, or maybe not get past it so much, but find a way through rush when it happens so that there aren't any casualties, so that there aren't any big embarrassing mistakes. When I was talking with you earlier, preparing for this episode, we talked about like the importance of mentoring people and mentoring people. I think anybody that's listening to this episode right now, if we just say mentoring is good, they're going to nod their heads. Yeah, everybody understands. But today we're talking about specifically this rush mode that whether we like it or not, it's a reality of our industry. We are going to have rush mode. And what we're talking about today is actually marrying the two concepts and mentoring people through that rush mode. Super, super, super important. What do you, in your own words, Glenn, what do we mean by mentoring people through rush mode?
First thing came to mind when you mentioned that was first and foremost, mentoring can't always wait for those quiet moments as a tech leader when you're in a high growth or startup environment. I mean, when would it ever happen? And, even in those scenarios, I'd like to say that, hey, we need to be training our people while the engines are running. We've got to guide them during the sprint reviews and stand-ups after a tough retro. I mean, whatever the case may be, these are our so-called cockpit moments where things are busy and you've still got to do the mentoring. And, it's a lot like flying. You're under pressure and, you got distractions and you've got things unfolding moment by moment. And, as you can imagine, as I believe I alluded to earlier, takeoff and landings are pretty complex. They're pretty stressful. And you've got a lot you're juggling. And guess what? When I'm going through any kind of training, whether it's new training or a refresher or whatever, I've got all that going on. I'm still expected to fly the aircraft with precision and safely. And guess what? Mentoring still happens. I've still got an instructor or more senior, more capable pilot sitting in that right seat, and they're guiding me. We're not taking time out for a 30-minute meeting. We're not having an hour meeting. It's a 1 or 2 statement, micro check-in. Hey, look at this. Did you hear that? You're drifting. Watch your altitude. I mean, it doesn't take a lot, but we're in rush mode and that mentoring and that coaching are still taking place. And I think if we do that in the tech world, it's going to build muscle memory. And guess what? If you do that enough, you can start instilling a sense of calm in the middle of the chaos. It's just going to reinforce everything that's going on. It's going to help with critical decision making. It's a must. And, I would proclaim that those micro mentoring check-ins, everyone talks about one-on-ones. They set aside 15, 20, 30 minutes, whatever. Those are great. Love them when time permits. But you can do short little course corrections, and that doesn't mean me sending a Slack or a Teams chat to them. Make a quick call, check in with them, ask a question, share something from an observation. I mean, you're going to build trust. You're going to build a better team.
Yeah.
And it has to happen all the time.
So you could almost replace, just so that everybody understands how widely this applies, you could replace the words rush mode with crunch time. A lot of people talk about the crunch time or the time at the end of a sprint or really, really close to the deadline where all the pressure is high. And that's when we have this constant fight or flight brain going on and we are down to the wire. So it's intensity. It's not just rush, because rush is kind of a product of these other things, but it's, this applies widely and it's something that we all deal with. I love the idea of mentoring in small bursts. What are some other ways that we can mentor people in this crunch time rush mode that you've used in the past?
Coming alongside, we talk about peer programming, but what if you've had a deployment that didn't go so well? Instead of just having someone operating on their own, go sit down next to them, do a screen share, whatever, come alongside of them and get another pair of eyes, get a couple sets of eyes, different backgrounds, different levels of experience, different perspectives. You bring all that to the table and you're working to solve the problem, but you're also doing some mentoring and some coaching and some training because now you're getting knowledge share across.
Yeah. Have you ever tried a war room?
Yep. War room, very, very applicable.
Yeah. I had a war room. My policy, anytime there's a big thing that's happening, like a security incident, heaven forbid, or something where you really kind of need all hands on deck, I keep on, as I say things, I keep on thinking, man, all of these are like military terms, and you've got this naval experience, but like you've got all these different situations where you really need everybody really locked in on the same thing. And I love the war room concept because, like in my world, you can get everybody in a Slack huddle or in a Google Meet or a Zoom, and even though maybe a couple people are really working they're the main workers, everybody else is there listening in, throwing in their 10 cents.
Yep.
Beats the crap out of having to wait on the feedback loop, like sending out a Slack message and say, okay, how's it going? What's the latest on this? And then wait 10 excruciating minutes when in a war room, you just put you're face to face with everybody.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's a great one, and completely slipped my mind, but there's a lot to be said for that.
And of course, that's me in a remote situation. Everything that I do is remote with all of my teams, but there are probably all kinds of things that can be done if you've got the benefit of being together in the same building too. I mean, a war room is really easy when you can just get everybody into the conference room and work together.
Yeah,
but
years ago, we had a situation like that, and at that time, 2010, 2011, bug was just kicking our backside, and we got everyone into a little conference area. It was open, but the way that seats and desks were aligned, everyone was sitting there talking, ordered pizza, everything, and everybody was all in, and we were constantly sharing ideas and notes. It's like, hey, has anyone looked at this file? Hey, did you guys see this? Hey, what about this commit? Could that, and we actually started at all the commits that went into that deployment. Some of us started at the bottom, some of us and we started working down through. And of all things, it was the one right in the middle that we all got to that caused it.
And you were kind of going from different directions.
Yep.
It's always the last thing you check, right?
Absolutely.
Now, mentoring and training, there's kind of a fine line, I guess, or maybe not. I don't know. It depends on your definition. But training and practice is what somebody might be able to do. They've already got the format down. They've already got how to do this down. They just have to go through and repeat it and practice it. But mentoring can be a way of training people through those high pressure situations, like in a war room or like in quick messages that you might send in Slack or in passing, where you're not just telling people how to do something. A lot of times you're doing it with them and they're learning from you. They're learning a little bit more closely how to actually hold the yoke, how fast to push the button. I don't know, looking for aviation analogies, but like how to write the message to your coworker in Slack, how to update this report so that the right people get notified. Being there with people to mentor them through those high pressure situations can not only cause the situation to go better, but probably the next situation that happens, they'll probably make less mistakes, have more control over their brain.
Absolutely. And in no reality, if that's instilled into the culture, I think people are going to be more apt to raise their hand and ask for that help.
Yeah. Which is also very important because you can put on the nice face while the bad thing is happening or the high pressure situation is happening so that you can get the right kind of productivity out of people. But really what we need to be trying for is to be wanting human flourishing every single day, not just because right now we're in crunch time. We need to be ready and into promoting human flourishing every single day.
100%.
So we kind of alluded to this, but let's just kind of get really more specific. What does mentoring people in rush mode have to do with human flourishing?
So first off, I can tell you that nothing I've accomplished in my career was done alone. Everything I've accomplished is thanks to the leaders I worked with in my naval aviation career, to the mentors who have invested in me since then. I wouldn't be able to do what I wouldn't be here talking to you today. I mean, I'm blessed that I've had so many people that were willing to take the time to mentor me and help me, and sometimes have difficult conversations with me, telling me I'm being an idiot. What are you thinking? But every one of those milestones in my career that has helped me get to where I am, it's because someone chose to help me, even despite the fire drill that was taking place. And so we talk about operating under pressure, and we talk about, high growth, crunch time, whatever. I often remind myself that each and every pre-flight for us, I had a 2-hour window, incredibly complex aircraft that we had to pre-flight. We had to get everything ready, and we didn't have any margin for error. And I've got a crew. I've got a real complex aircraft. I've got to respond to unexpected events. I'll kind of talk about technical issues. You get a whole bunch of high-tech equipment on aircraft where vibration and heat and all kinds of stuff come into play. I still had to get launched on time, and it took a team, and it took a lot of mentoring. That still happened during that time. We had senior crew members that were doing their thing, but checking in with the rest of us and offering a lending hand. And, I talked about modeling calm. We could be under pressure, and there was a sense of urgency, but there was this calm in the chaos that made it less scary, if you will. It's weird because we knew what was on the line, and we were all pushing, but no one was freaking out. And it built a lot of resilience and competence in the team and a sense of trust. And, so many of the people that were on some of the teams I was with went on to flourish and do all kinds of things in the Navy, retire from the Navy, and have gone on for a second or third career, and they're still flourishing. And I can listen to things that they say, watch posts that they put on LinkedIn and stuff like that, and it all comes back to me. I look at it and go, I know where they got that from. And so I honestly think that without even knowing anything about what's going on in inside the four walls of any of these successful companies, I'm pretty confident they kind of got that culture baked in, and they're not just putting formal programs and processes in place and working on this scheduled training. They've got some really good leadership in there that are taking these micromanagement, micro check-in times and sewing into these people. And who knows where they're going to go? Who knows what they're going to accomplish?
So why don't more leaders try to mentor people like intentionally during those intense rush times?
So I honestly think it comes down to some pretty consistent events or non-events. How often have you seen technical leaders that got promoted because they were really good techs?
All the time.
They weren't ready for it. And think about, battlefield promotions. Hey, the CEO just got taken out. You're next up. Great. I can take his job and run. Come on. And so those people, due to no fault of their own, may be thrust into this and weren't adequately prepared. And so they're struggling themselves. So they're trying to figure out just how to keep their head above water. And then you have others that maybe they were prepared and they've come up through the ranks, but no one took the time to mentor them. So it's a foreign concept to them. They had one-on-ones and they had all the normal Scrum meetings, but no one's really modeled that behavior for them. So it's a foreign concept to them. And, and then honestly think probably the majority is exactly what we're talking about. They're in rush mode all the time. They're overwhelmed. They've got roadmaps, status reports, fire drills. They're working on budget. They're getting pressure from their investors, whatever the case may be. What's going to get dropped? They're trying to put out the fire in what's immediately pressing. And I love to look at it this way. If you're not mentoring and you need to step away, who's going to be ready to take the controls? And, in a perfect world, I tell people all the time, I'm always working to make myself obsolete. I don't want to be the holder of all knowledge. I don't want to be, no, it's not fair to anyone else. And hell, it's not good for me because, I want to step away every now and then. And what if a new opportunity came up, whether it's there or somewhere else? Are you even going to be eligible for it? Because the decision makers are like, well, we don't have anyone that can step in and take over for you. Or if you leave and go elsewhere, are you going to leave the team in a jam? Are they going to crash and burn or just have some really rough landings because you didn't sew into them? And, thankfully this has never happened. And I doubt it would ever happen in the aviation world, but that concept is kind of a non-negotiable because I'm often volunteering for aviation-related charities and all kinds of different events. Young Eagles, we take kids out and fly. We do fundraisers for kids, all kinds of stuff. And if I'm the only person for some critical task, or I'm the only holder of knowledge, and for some reason I can't be there, who's going to pay the price? Those kids. Because now this event doesn't go well, or who knows what happens. And let's face it, leadership is bigger than me or you, bigger than the listeners that are listening in. If you're the only one holding on to the yoke, you're not leading. You're a bottleneck.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well said. So let's imagine that somebody is feeling really inspired and they're wanting to start this kind of battlefield mentoring them in this rush mode. They're ready to go. What are some pitfalls they're going to find as they start out?
If you're not used to it, it's going to feel clumsy. I mean, it's like anything else. If you're not used to doing this, you're going to mess up. That's okay. It sucks. Trust me. I'd rather learn other ways, but you can't treat everyone as a carbon copy of the other. You got to get to know the person. What motivates them? What inspires them? It's going to take time. Become a student. Yeah, don't rush it. Become a student of people. I tell people on a regular,
talking about rush mode.
Yes, I talk to people all the time, and I'm like, "Hey, tech is easy. It gets challenging when people are involved."
Mm-hmm. So, let's give somebody out there something they can sink their teeth into. How about you share a time when mentoring people in rush mode led to some unexpected results?
You can probably relate to this. One of the easiest ones, it's like, we're mid-product launch. We've got some pretty high stakes, some big customers that are on hold till we get this rolled out. And one of the developers was really good individual, very skilled, but they were floundering. They got stuck. And instead of taking that from them, handing it to someone else, or stepping in and taking away from them myself, a 5-minute focused conversation each morning and each afternoon for a couple days made all the difference in the world. Think about it as a pre-flight briefing. or a post-flight debrief. And in a few days, the whole mood changed. And within a week or so, their velocity was like a whole different person. And I honestly think they didn't feel like they were alone. They didn't feel like they were fighting this on their own. Kind of took some of the pressure away, and small little course corrections. I wasn't doing anything huge. And to be honest with you, I wasn't telling them how to do anything. I was asking some questions. Because to be honest, the section where they were working and what they were doing, they were far more capable than I was.
Questions are powerful.
It was questions. It was asking questions and getting them to talk out loud about what they were struggling with. And they'd start explaining. They go, oh, crap, wait a minute. I didn't do a thing. I asked some questions.
I've had very good luck with pair programming for years, going on decades.
Yeah.
And just it is such an incredible way to do work. And of course, people might have their criticisms for pair programming, but to me, at least in my own experience, I don't have anything like, I don't have metrics to show to prove this or anything like that. I just know that it works for me. I have seen some of the most amazing transformations. And for a lot of us, programming software work is just going from one rush mode to the next. And as leaders, we've got to model calm. We've got to make sure that people see what it's like to be in rush mode, deal with the crunch time, but do so with calm and cool and collected, and be able to make good decisions in the moment and move on with life and not be freaked out about all the little things that happen along the way. And I remember there's one time that I was pairing with a developer, and they were telling me that, man, this is taking me way longer than I ever expected. He was really feeling bad for himself. I don't like how long this is taking me. I'm embarrassed. I'm like, don't worry, let's get in there and let's just do this together. And as he's working, I noticed that there was this editor warning and error that was coming up every now and then, like every 5 minutes, it would pop up a thing and he had to do something about it. And then he would be able to move on. And I was like, so how much time do you think you spend in any given day with that editor warning that's like in there bothering you? Oh, he's like, well, I mean, if I add it all up, it'd probably be close to 30, 45 minutes a day of dealing with this limping editor. And so then I just, again, questions. I just asked them some more questions, like, how long has this been going on? Oh, it's been ever since I started. I got this editor from so-and-so and they configured it for me and here it is. And I've just been limping along. Oh, okay. What if we were to spreadsheet that out? How many hours of productivity have you lost because of that? And we didn't follow that down because it's like, who cares exactly how long it takes? But I said, how long would it take you to really fix that editor thing? He's like, well, no, I can't fix that right now because we're in this rush and we really got to ship. We got to get this stuff out the door. And I'm like, well, but come on, 5 minutes. What if you spent 5 minutes fixing that editor bug, that editor error that you're having? And so we did it together calmly. And so as a leader, I was able to give him permission to not be in rush just for 5 minutes.
That's it.
He fixed his editor and it was done. He didn't have to deal with that editor problem anymore. His tools were now working with him instead of against him. And I was able to mentor him and show him how it would be if you can let your brain rest from that fight or flight just for a little while so that you can get your wherewithal, fix something, and then be able to move forward with the velocity that you really deserve. No.
Yeah. Hey, I would put that in the category of context switching. He's just getting into a rhythm, and now this thing pops up and distracts him.
Yeah.
Context switching is a killer.
And it causes more rush mode, whether you know it or not, whether you even realize you're in a crunch time. You put yourself into a crunch time because of the context switching. You get behind, or you maybe even fabricate rush mode out of something that's not really worthy of that title.
Absolutely.
If there's one thing, Glenn, that you think tech leaders should do tomorrow to start promoting team flourishing, what would it be?
So, you're not getting out of here without one reference to Top Gun, right?
Oh, I was hoping we would get a Top Gun reference eventually.
So, in the original Top Gun, you remember the scene where they'd had a pretty high intense dogfight. Cougar's rattled and he's supposed to be coming in for a landing. Mm-hmm. And he can't bring himself to do it. He's frozen. He's stuck. He's got fear taking control and he's kind of spiraling. Maverick's low on fuel and he aborts his landing. Ignored the protocols, flies back, pulls up next to Cougar, and he starts talking him through the checklist. He didn't take the controls and do it for him. He just showed up for him. And that moment changed everything for Cougar. He landed safely. Maverick knows he's going to get his ass chewed. He knows a reprimand is coming, but he did what was right for his buddy there. And great leaders are going to put their team first. So what if the leaders listening here today did the same thing? Not in the sky, but at work. What if they reached out to one person who's struggling, or not just professionally, but maybe personally, they've got a struggle going on? What if they came alongside that person and listened without judgment, offered even a small word of wisdom, maybe talked about a time they faced something similar? What kind of impact would that make to that person and ultimately the team if you started doing that as a habit? And I'm not talking about just, an impersonal message. I'm talking about something that's personal and try to, how's it going? What's getting in your way? How, it doesn't have to be formal. Think about it. You and I in the cockpit, we're talking, we're on the intercom. Nobody else can hear us. What do you think those moments would mean to your leadership legacy?
Well, that's the challenge that we have been for everybody out there is today, find your Cougar and fly up next to him and talk him down. or in your own context, of course.
Absolutely.
So, hey, Glenn, how can people get in touch with you?
The easiest way is my LinkedIn profile, Glen Antoine, LinkedIn, Glen Antoine. You're going to notice it. I've got a aircraft and all about aviation in my banner, and pretty much look like I do now.
Awesome.
I may have
put a link to your file.
Okay, that's the easiest way. And the thing that I like to remind people is, some of the best people that I worked with, I'm not there taking the yoke from anybody. I'm a co-pilot. I help them tune the radios. I help them do the flight planning. I help when they're feeling overloaded in the cockpit. I give away tons of free information. I have calls all the time where I like helping people.
Awesome. Well, everybody, this has been another great episode. I can't wait for you all to start mentoring people around you in those crunch modes and for us to see the fruits of this episode. Glenn, this has been a great conversation. Thank you so much for your time. We'll see you next time.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me on.
This has been another episode of the Team Amplifier podcast. Thanks for joining us. Now, get out there and be a team amplifier.